Do not take property investing advice, guys, from people who don't know what they're talking about, who make statements of facts and predictions based on what they feel or what they've seen in a clip, guys. You will lose money and opportunities listening to people like that. What's up, guys? Welcome to the last housing market update of the year for December. I've watched back all of my monthly housing market updates from when I started doing them at the beginning of this year to now, and boy, guys, has this been a crazy year. Probably the craziest year in property in the housing market that I've had since I started investing. I've never seen a year like this. Have you guys? This is going to be an update of everything we've seen in 2022 in the housing market. By the way, guys, my name is Warren. I am a banker here in London and a property investor across the UK. My goal is to live free and independently from property. So I'm looking for an income of £3,000 per month from property, if that's what you're into too, and that's what you're looking to do to live independently and build your wealth. Subscribe, that's what we're all about. So let's get straight into it, guys. This is the craziest year we've seen to date. What we've seen 3 prime ministers, not one, not two, but 3 prime ministers. We all remember that mini budget from Mr. Kwarteng that really sent our economy into an absolute tailspin. It sent us wild. Off the back of that, guys, and even before that, we were seeing wild inflation in the UK economy. We've seen rising interest rates, and in line with that, rising mortgage rates in the UK economy. We've seen an energy-driven cost of living increase that really has put a lot of households, me, you, many others across the UK into a really difficult position when it comes to household spending and money available just to put food on the table and pay for energy. And I think we're really going to see the sharp end of that as we get towards winter, as we're coming towards Christmas, and it's going to get cold and people are going to have to encounter these higher energy costs head on. We saw a fuel crisis, guys. I mean, I could go on and on, but there's been a lot that's happened. And the big question is, how does that relate to property? So when we look at the main indexes in the UK, what we're seeing is a slowdown in the growth of housing market prices towards the end of the year. But guys, it's okay, right? Because we know that the property market slows down every single year in the last 3 months of the year. Why is that? Because people aren't trying to move during Christmas. Towards the end of the year, it is natural, okay, for the property market to slow down. If you don't believe me, I'm going to show you some official statistics from HM Land Registry. This is the registry of all properties sold throughout the whole UK. It is a broad look across everything that's happening in the UK. And what we can see in 2017, the average growth in property prices across the last 3 months, I'm talking October to December, was 0.06%. So that's flat, okay? And the breakdown over those 3 months was 0.09% growth in October, minus 0.28% decline in November, and 0.39% growth in December. So on the whole, flat. In 2018, guys, from October to December, minus 0.2%. The breakdown for that is minus 0.1% decline in October, minus 0.34% decline in November, minus 0.22% decline in December. And then in 2019, the same, the average is minus 0.2% from October to December. 2020, it's plus 0.8%. And then in 2021, you've got plus 0.01%. So what we're seeing, guys, overall, for the last 3 months of the year, over the last 5 years, and beyond that, I've just chosen the last 5 years to give you a picture. The rate of growth in the UK housing market is either flat or it declines slightly. That's what happens towards the end of the year. And we've seen exactly the same thing happen this year, despite everything we've seen in the economy, right? The big question that most people, including myself in my videos for the last 6 months plus, have been trying to ask, right, is this year, are we going to see a housing market crash? As I alluded to at the beginning of this video, the economy has been on a madness. The property market has actually been doing that. It has grown phenomenally over the last 2 years, but in the last 6 to 12 months, we've seen a violent rise in inflation. We've seen interest rates and in turn mortgage rates rise in line with that. We've seen a cost of living squeeze as well, and we've seen a lot of other things happen in the economy. And the question is, well, with all of this happening, surely a crash is just around the corner. Now, 99% of you guys watching me are smart. We are like-minded. We are property people, okay? That's why you subscribe. That's why you watch these videos and you come back week after week. I appreciate each and every single one of you because you're sensible. But there is a tiny, marginal 1% in the comment that aren't like us, guys, I'm afraid, okay? And you're still very welcome, by the way. I welcome disagreement. My opinions, and they are just opinions, in this videos when I'm making my predictions about what's happening and what's going to happen. It's all based on data, right? And it's my opinion. So I love a good debate in the comments. I love it when people disagree with me and say no. But over the last 4 months, guys, I've been looking at the data and I have not been seeing any signs, and I mean any signs, of a housing market crash. A cooling off, yes, absolutely. Prices are declining, but not in line with what we saw, for example, in 2008 when the property market crashed, or beyond that in the 1970s. We're seeing a cooling, not a crash. Even though there's crazy inflation, even though there's an economic dip, even though interest rates and mortgage rates are rising and the cost of living crisis is, in full effect, their data still does not suggest that the housing market is going to crash in the UK. Now, some of you 1% just can't get your heads around that, which is fine, but you weren't having any of it and you came in the comments accordingly. Oh, hey there. If you're finding this video useful, informative, maybe even entertaining, do me a favor, guys, take your index finger and move it a few centimeters to the right and like and subscribe. It really helps grow the channel, really helps with the algorithm. And now back to the video. Now, as we are 5 to 6 months later, and I did respond to some of the comments, and I said, well, let's let it play out, guys. Let's just see what happens. Let's see how it plays out, because the data suggests no. But as I said, some of you 1%ers weren't having any of it. I was seeing stuff like, there is going to be a massive housing crash, yeah? A correction in property prices must happen. The biggest crash we'll ever see in our lifetime. Landlords will be exiting the market due to defaults in rent. Opinions being put forward as statements of fact, like these 1%ers talking as if they'd already been into the future, right? And seen what would happen, and they just came back just out of the goodness of their hearts to tell us what was going to happen in the comment section of these YouTube videos. Of course, guys, none of that has happened, okay? None of that at all has happened. We have not seen large numbers of landlords exiting the market. We have not seen tenants defaulting on their rent in large numbers. If that was happening, trust me, you'd know about it. The media loves to put forward these types of sensationalist stories, especially when it relates to properties. We haven't seen that. We haven't seen the biggest ever crash in our lifetime. There hasn't been a massive housing crash. None of that happened, guys, okay? And I think there's a lesson in that, guys. Whenever someone makes predictions and they shout the loudest and they tell you that XYZ will definitely happen, like it's a statement of fact, and you need to sell your property, be very wary of what this person is saying, you need to do this. Do not take property investing advice, guys, from people who don't know what they're talking about and who make statements of facts and predictions based on what they feel or what they've seen in a clip, guys. You will lose money and opportunities listening to people like that. Guys, always do your own research and base it on data and what you're seeing. You need to come to logical conclusions. Don't listen to people who will lose you money and opportunities. Because what we learn, guys, in times like this, and it's really good, when we go through a crash or a period of uncertainty, you learn certain principles and skills that will see you through the rest of your property investing journey. People will form hard, cemented opinions off of sound bites that they hear in the news, off their Twitter feeds, off of chats at work, by the water cooler, off the internet, all of which, by the way, are designed to be and written to be sensationalized. They're designed to make you fearful and emotional and get you worked up. That's what the media does, especially when it comes to the economy and property. And then unfortunately, those same people, those 1%, will make predictions on videos like mine and others that end up making themselves look foolish because they just don't pan out in real life. And why is that, guys? The lesson here for you, the 99% of you watching who are sensible, is because they haven't looked into any of the data or any of the research themselves, beyond what they've been told to believe. Yes, reading the news and articles is very important. I read the news, right? But what I always do is I then go back to the data and I say, does what it's saying in the news align to what the data actually says? And if there's a discrepancy, guys, then you got to come to the sensible conclusion. I mean, one person even said that looking at historical data is irrelevant, guys. I mean, I almost died laughing off the back of that. Data is the key to making educated assumptions, and that doesn't just go for property. That goes for any industry, any area whatsoever. Of course, you need to look at data to make predictions, okay? Wealth building and property investing decisions need to be based on data. They can't be based on emotion or what you feel is going to happen. And don't let any clowns tell you otherwise, guys. We've learned a lot. I've learned a lot from these 1%ers in the comment section, guys, okay? But let's move on, guys. Hopefully you understand the lesson from that. But let's look at some articles. So in the Buy Association, they talk about mortgage rates, okay? They're saying that mortgage rates are being reined in. We saw an initial spike in mortgage rates, especially after Kwasi Kwarteng released his mini budget. Yes, mortgage rates did spike up to around 6-7%. But what's happened since then, guys? We're talking 2-3 months later, they've gone back down, okay? And they're going to continue to go back down. I'm not saying that we're going to be at the levels that we saw previously where you could get mortgages at 2-3%. No, I feel like higher mortgage rates are here to stay, but that spike where people were saying, oh, it's going to go up to 7, 8, 9, 10%, it just wasn't true, okay? And we're already seeing mortgage rates coming back down. Yes, we're seeing some short-term market slowdown, and this is an important point, guys. I completely agree, and I want to reiterate this. The market is slowing down, it's cooling down, but it's not crashing, right? But overall, when you look at the end of the sentence, property market is a sector that remains robust, okay? And in this second article, we can see that property market activity is in fact relatively undeterred by the ongoing economic uncertainty. Guys, I've been saying this for the last few months. I said, yes, we're seeing a cool down, but there's not going to be a crash. The property market, there's still so much undersupply and pent up demand, over demand, that the property market was never going to crash, even though we were seeing what we were seeing, and even though all of the news articles and the papers told you otherwise. When you look at the data, it just didn't say that, okay? And then let's look at some actual articles that talk about there being a dip in the property market next year, which, again, it could well happen. I'm not saying a dip won't happen, but in Reuters, they say that there's going to be a fall of 4.7% nationwide. They say there's going to be a rebalancing, but nothing like we saw after the global financial crisis. I mean, I said that earlier on, guys, and we're not going to see a dip like we saw in 2008, and that was a worldwide recession caused by securities, mortgage-backed securities that were missold in the property market globally, right? We're not going to see a dip like that. And then the BBC talks about they're slightly lower. Reuters said 4.7%. BBC is saying 1.2% dip next year, and then 5.7% dip in 2024. No real explanation on what that's based on, but look at this, guys. However, it is pointed out that there was significant uncertainty over this forecast. Guys, why give a forecast like that if there's significant uncertainty around it? So even when some of these articles are predicting a fall in the housing market, they say there's significant uncertainty. It's like, ordering an Uber. Say your Uber says it's going to be there in 10 minutes, but then suddenly an alert pops up on your screen and it says, yes, it's booked for 10 minutes time, but there's significant uncertainty over your Uber actually being here in the next 10 minutes. You're like, that doesn't make any sense. So yeah, the overall message is that there probably will be a decline overall in property prices next year, but not to the extent that some of the 1% were saying in the comment section with the keyboard warrior energy. I was seeing comments of there's going to be a 20% decline, there's going to be a 30% decline, there's going to be not less than a 50% crash, biggest crash in our lifetime, okay? Guys, I think some of you 1% need to do a creative writing class or something, because your imaginations are wild. There's never been a fall in the property market in the whole history I'm talking hundreds of years in the property market of more than 15%, I believe, okay? So to say that there's gonna be a 20%, 30%, a 50% dip, that's something that's never happened in the history of the UK housing market. And believe me, our economy has been through worse. We've been through actual world wars, okay? We've been through global economic crashes. Those predictions don't make a lot of sense, guys. So anyway, that is a summary of the year. It's been a crazy year, but what have we learned, okay? First of all, rely on the data to make predictions. Second of all, don't listen to people who don't know what they're talking about. Come to your own conclusions based on the data. And thirdly, the property market is very resilient, guys. It is a store of wealth that, you know, can and does rise over the long term. And we've seen this year, in the face of a lot of economic uncertainty, it's actually done very well. So guys, that is the final update for this year. I hope you've enjoyed these updates throughout 2022. I hope you subscribe. Thank you so much for your support of the channel over the year. I will be back in January. Have a good Christmas, and I'll see you guys soon.